Do you see a pattern, though, that as you look at small business, the entrepreneurship world at large versus female business owners?
If you don't have a plan, you don't ever really know, hey, I got there, I mean, I do go at it from the different direction a lot of the times when I start working with someone.
Where do you crack the bottle of champagne open and say, I did it? Where's your I did it, honey? Hey there, welcome to She Means Millions. You're listening to the She Means Millions podcast. Watching it, checking us out. I'm Kim Yancey. Normally the trifecta is here. Sandra, Brianna, myself, we're hosting the show. This is one of our solo episodes. And I couldn't be more excited than to be here with Deborah Daniel, who was a member of eWomenNetwork for you've been with us for 17, 18 years.
Yeah, I think around 2010, probably.
In fact, ran the Atlanta chapter.
For several years.
Yeah.
One of my funnest things I've done.
So Deborah is the founder and CEO of Charter Accounting out of Atlanta, a leading accounting firm there. She is also a author and speaker, and it's got an exciting book out called Women's Wealth Secrets. So I want to take advantage of that. And Deborah's got some expertise and some insights for all of us, Deborah. So it's great to have you here on the She Means Millions. So anyway, Deborah, what would you say is kind of like the state of the union right now as it relates to entrepreneurs and success, the critical place that they're all in right now?
Well, I think really we can't ignore the elephant in the room. I mean, AI, things are changing so fast. Technology is radically changing how we do business. I mean, I'm just thinking about being in business for the past 3 decades, and it's just moving faster and faster and faster. I mean, how can you even do a 5-year plan anymore? Because we have no idea what's going to,
that's a joke.
A 1-year plan is almost a joke at this point. I mean, so I think that's really what's happening and what's driving success for entrepreneurs. But then also that technology is helping them have a lot more opportunities for revenue. I mean, because right now you can create lead magnets right away. You can create, programs much faster, but you have to be careful with that too, because it still has to be your content. But now if we could just take the minutia work and let that make us move faster, so that's creating more revenue for us. But often, more revenue just creates more problems. Really, they're just bigger problems.
What in your day-to-day, day in and day out, what do you find yourself dealing with as relates to small business success? What I really want to hear about frequently asked questions that you get.
Well, I hear a lot. I mean, of course, my main business is being a CPA. So people are asking me about tax strategy and things like that. But I will tell you, I sometimes think the P in CPA stands for psychologist, because when people start talking to you about their money and their business, it just opens up a big can of worms. And because the reality is money impacts everything that we do, especially in business, right? And so having and this is a lot what Women's Wealth Secrets talks about, the mindset, the skill set, and the tool set to deal with your money. The problem is most people have none of those attributes, and if they're lucky, they have 1 or 2. Because I have an MBA in finance, and I say this all the time. I did not learn about money and personal finance in all the education that I have, because it's really more about corporate. It's not about how do you really take the money that you earn and create a legacy with it. Most of us didn't, only learn from our parents, and they did probably the best that they could, but even what they would have known is so different. And so that's why financial literacy really is what really comes down to, and what I actually get questions on that people don't realize that they're really don't understand finances is why they even have the questions. That's why it's just so important for people to really understand how money works, how the flow in business works. It's not just about sales. I mean, sales are 100% important, right? Bringing the money in. But then what happens after that? That's where I get a lot of questions, and they don't even realize that they're asking me questions about their business, but it's really about their money.
Yeah, I also noticed that entrepreneurs really so focus on the shiny part of their business, right? The
Yeah,
part
the fun part, the visibility and the branding and the sales,
you know,
you know?
and all of a sudden, you've not billed that client for 8 months, or
Exactly.
you forgot to send them, a bill, whatever the case may be.
Exactly.
Do you find that? Do you find that?
100%. And especially too, people don't understand the flow of money in their business a lot of times. Like I have a lot of clients that are in like the construction industry or things like that. And so they maybe are working on a completion method. So they're only getting billed as certain landmarks are hit in their business. Well, guess what? Their contractors and their employees want to get paid every 2 weeks. So how do you make up for that when you're doing business today that you're maybe not going to get paid for 90 days and you still got to pay these people? They just think selling more projects is going to solve that. No, if you don't have the system in place to cover those finances for that 90 days, that's where people get into trouble. The business is doing great, but they run out of money. And then, people don't come to work when they're not getting paid.
So, what would you say are you could call it the top 4 or 5 things that entrepreneurs, and since we're all about women, sorry guys, but we're really going to focus on how we can support women the best way possible. What would you say are some things that you want women business owners specifically to be cognizant of?
Well, I think one thing that I see that is a mistake or a trend or just the way women may be making a lot more money, but they're not really taking ownership of their wealth creation. And what I mean by that, that's very different. Income is what's coming in. And a lot of times that's what people see. Oh, wow, her business is doing great. She's got the great new house. She's got, brand new car. That's the income side. That's the lifestyle side. But what is really being created that can leverage that? Because, we can't work forever. The revenue stream can't come in forever. And if you're not intentionally or unintentionally or figuratively or actually putting it on your financial statement, kind of a reserves for the future, what is really the purpose of having a business? You really just have a job. And I think that comes back to the operator versus the owner of a business. You got to think about being the owner of your wealth and the owner of your wealth creation.
Right, right. What do you wish someone had told you? You're a business owner yourself, right?
Mhm.
And so, aside from taking care of the accounting needs of your clients, you as a business owner, are there lessons that you have to also be mindful of for yourself?
Oh, 100%, 100%. Because, I mean, the thing is, it goes back to the operator versus the owner mentality. Because it's very hard especially when you're like selling your time, your services, to get out of the dollars for hours kind of mentality. But then also, it's really there's a lot of personal development that it takes to be a successful business owner. I mean, I don't want to stray from the money part, but it's so much about discipline. It's so much about managing yourself. It's so much about leading yourself and leading your money that nobody ever really explained to me. The fact that you can do the service that you're providing well and you can sell it well, that's great. But if you don't have the discipline to put money to the side, to, know that, hey, to be a good business owner, I really need to take a break from this. And I think my generation, I mean, I'm not that different from your generation. I mean, we're all about the same age. I think we grew up in the grind mentality. And I think that keeps a lot of business owners from being truly successful because we're so focused on the sale, so focused on doing the work that we don't take the time to create wealth. And I have a definition of wealth, and I talk about this a lot in my book, that isn't just about the money. I mean, if you could have all the money in the world, but if you don't have great relationships, if you don't feel like you're actually making a difference in the world, personally, I don't feel very wealthy from that. I mean, that's easier to say when all your bills are paid and you don't have to scrape, to eat every day. But once you get past the basic, I've got my basics covered, wealth becomes a little bit more than just the money in the bank, I think.
Do you see a pattern, though, that as you look at small business, the entrepreneurship world at large versus female business owners, do you see a big difference? Or are they
I will tell you, I think there is a difference. I do see a difference, and I've had this conversation with many women. I think that women are a little bit less. It's hard to articulate really. I think men are very okay with focusing on being profitable. Women are more like afraid to raise their prices, feel like, want people to like them instead of, what is really the value of my my service. And I think that's a problem for women. It's a money mindset problem, I think, that they're a little bit more afraid to charge what they're worth. I mean, and the reality is, you know, you're not going to ever create a really successful business if you're not charging what really economically for you it should be. And just feeling like you're serving. And of course, I want you to serve your clients. I mean, that's, you won't stay in business if you don't serve your clients and you don't do it effectively. But you also have to do it from a perspective of backing into how much money do I need to live and how many, of X products do I need to sell? I don't think they're strategic about figuring that out. I think they're just like going to the next client and don't really have as good of a structure in place for client acquisition, for, how do I fulfill that as some of the people that I do see that tend to be more male dominated fields.
So give us some of the women wealth secrets. What are some of the things that you can give us from the book that?
Well, I mean, some of the things I talk about a little bit are very, to the second grader, the third grader is a genius. And so most of these people, I mean, are like, it sounds almost too academic a little bit, but the difference between saving and investing, just because they're saving money over to the side, that's not really an investment, right? I mean, and you need to have different buckets of your money. You need to give a job to every dollar that you have. And I don't think a lot of people do that. They just look at the bank balance and, oh, great, I have some money in the bank, but they don't think, oh, well, I have a big tax bill coming, or we need to produce, we need to buy new computers. They're not as forward thinking as they need to be. They're focusing on the revenue that's coming in right now and checking their checking account. And as long as there's money there, they think they're successful. But that's not how a successful business is built, for sure.
Yeah, I'm reminded of a quote that my father gave me a long time ago. And it's really very interesting. Now, you being in accounting, I'll be curious. You might say, oh my God, it's a horrible quote that he gave you. But he said to me, he reminded me of something. And it was because I was so focused on something, whether it was music or sports, whatever at the time. And he says, son, I want you to remember something. He says, work hard and save your money so that when you're old, you get to buy all the things that only the old people enjoy. Can you keep up with that? Can you keep up with that quote?
Well, I can, and it kind of goes back to what I think is one of the biggest things too, is people don't understand the value of compounding, in their time or anything really. A lot of people are like, I'll start saving when this happens or when this big event happens. But the reality is wealth is really built by small amounts over a long period of time. And I think that kind of relates to what your dad was saying.
In my dad's case, it was, listen, it's okay to give yourself a break along the way.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. You want to smell some of the roses along the way.
Right.
You want to celebrate. I mean, I know you mentioned celebrity science. In an earlier conversation we had, and how people celebrate when they've arrived at that destination of success. Now, let me say it a different way. All right, I remember when the group I was in got our gold record at Capitol Records. We were at Capitol Records in Los Angeles, and no sooner did we take a picture with the president of Capitol Records and the album, our next conversation was about going to the next rung, the next level, all right? Go from gold to platinum. What we didn't do is go to dinner and have Pepsi and a nice cocktail to celebrate the milestone that we had hit. And I find that most people, when you ask them, what is that champagne moment where you crack the champagne, where you say, I did it, I hit that goal. What is that for you? They have a hard time articulating what that is. So that was the point behind, I think, a little bit of my dad's quote is, along the way, you want to be enjoying things, which is why we financed our first dog.
A dog on financing. I don't know.
But what do you?
No, I think that's really valid. Actually, I have this conversation with a lot of women, and my husband and I talk about it sometimes too. When is success really success?
Yes.
It seems like it's like a moving target. Like, 'cause you get to some place and you're like, oh, but then there's more. And when do we really? I mean, I think it's different for everyone. But if you don't have a plan, you don't ever really know. Hey, I got there. I mean, I do go at it from the different direction a lot of the times when I start working with someone, kind of let's begin with the end in mind, but we also need to figure out where you are, because if you're heading to, California, it depends if you're starting from Atlanta or you're starting from New York. So we got to kind of figure out, are you the New York person to California? And I think people don't even know where they are really today. So how do they really define where they're trying to get to? And that's, I mean, again, because like you said, they're chasing the shiny objects, they're chasing the visibility, they're chasing the sales, but more income doesn't guarantee wealth. Because what usually happens is then you buy the bigger house, and then you buy the new car, and then the lifestyle creeps up and absorbs what could be wealth creation. And that's why you almost want to have something on autopilot. I was talking to someone yesterday at the event, and she's like, well, I want to hear, about wealth from somebody that's actually done it. Like some of the things I hear tell me some of the things that you've actually done. I said, well, I'll tell you, one thing is to be consistent and do small, consistent things. You don't realize how much small amounts can make a difference. I was telling her about a beach house that my husband and I just bought, a total bucket list item. Now, have I arrived at everything I want to do? I don't know. I'm getting a lot closer. But the reality is that started out with something almost 30 years ago. We started putting a small amount into 2 mutual funds in 1998. $300, so $600. That was a car payment back then. Not much of a car payment today, but it was a car payment. And we did that through the 2000 bubble, through the 2008, crash, through the pandemic. And that one little thing enabled us to, it grew to so much. We took half of that and put a down payment on a beautiful beach house that was only a dream for us. Right. But you didn't think when you started just doing $600 a month that that's what it was going to come to. But I think most people wait until, I'll buy the beach house when I've had a chance to save the money, but they don't ever start saving the money. You got to start somewhere and start small and do it for a long time. And people don't realize that.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're drowning in your business? Like you're doing everything and something has to give, but you're afraid it might be you? What if I told you there's a network of over 500,000 women entrepreneurs, all dedicated to supporting each other? A network of women helping women. I'm Sandra Yancey, founder of eWomenNetwork, and I'm inviting you to join us and become a member. eWomenNetwork.com. We can't wait to meet you.
So staying with this, what would I want you to speak to the thousands of women that are listening and watching this. Mm-hmm. I want you to give them, again, 3 or 4 of your top Deborah-isms.
Well, of course, pay yourself.
Apply to your life.
Sure, for sure. Pay yourself first. 100%. 100%. You've got to pay yourself first, and not just in wages, but from the very beginning, you need to build in those future dollars. Now, whether it's a 401k for yourself, whether it's a Roth IRA, whether it's, some other kind of investment, that needs to be in the budget, just like your payroll for your other people, just like the rent, just like the telephone. Because if you wait, you've lost those years. And you can't really catch up. Someone that's 60 years old that hasn't saved anything, they're in trouble. Now, I would say that you can get out of that trouble if you create a revenue stream, and who knows, you can do that with a digital product these days, right? Or write a book, or I don't know. But you can't wait too long. And so starting soon and small is better than waiting for a big amount. I think, there's so many of them. But realizing the different, realizing that there is a bit of a lifestyle, a bit of a life cycle of your money as well. And I think people have a hard time moving from the different parts of it. There's that time in your life when you're earning and you're accumulating and you're investing and saving. What I'm seeing a lot of clients with now, and women and men, is now they are getting closer to that retirement age, and maybe they have done some of the things they're supposed to do, but how do you switch from your whole life of putting money into a nest egg to the spending? And that's a big difference that I'm seeing and trying to talk women through a little bit right now. It's okay to start spending it once you've done all the work. There's so many things that there's so many good points in the book that I'm thinking about that I could talk about. The reality of being the CEO of your money, really. Not being, passive in that. What I see a lot is women are making as much as their spouse, or a lot more women are single. Be it from divorce or widowhood or whatever, and they're the main breadwinner, but they are not making decisions about their finances. Yeah. And that is... that's scary to me, that you're letting it be a passive kind of, okay, time's just passing and I'll let it go. You have to, just like you're the CEO of your business, you got to be the CEO of your money, I think.
Yeah. It's amazing the interaction with couples when it comes to money too, right? I mean, I don't know a whole lot about marriage counseling and that kind of stuff, though I've been through it, Sandra and I. But I remember when we were dating, and Sandra, at an early age, I mean, really had a discipline. I remember she got me a watch as a gift. I still have that watch, and I think it was I don't know, let's call it $200 watch or something. I don't know what it was, but she basically put it in a layaway plan, right? And she was chipping away just a little bit to get the watch paid off. And I use the term chipping away, and it's applied to a lot of things. Like I remember the family was out to that what's it called, the golf place, the place where I've seen them in a lot of cities where families go and you guys know what I'm talking about. It's the something golf. What's it called?
Top Golf.
Top Golf. Thank you. From the Peanut Gallery, we got them. No, it's called Top Golf. And I remember thinking about Sandra and the watch, how she put it in layaway, and paid a little bit every month. But she applied that same concept. Everybody was shooting for the long ball at Top Golf, going for the big hole that was, 100, 200 yards away. Well, there was another hole that was real close. And Sandra just got there, and her strategy was, let me just go for the small hole. I'll make it every time. And she did. And at the end of the game, all the guys, all the big hitters, they were swinging for the fence, but they never got in the hole. She got in the hole every single time, and she won.
Exactly.
And you think, what does all that mean? It's an observation in really just in how couples even approach the things that they want to go, where I'm more, I want to get it now. Let me go for it now, whatever. She's able to strategize and think, let me do this in increments.
Right.
And I'll get there. And in many cases, faster than you realize.
Right, exactly. Well, it goes back to the small amount over a long period of time, because there's a lot of psychology around money. I mean, like athletes that make a lot of money, how they end up losing it and not having
lottery winners. Lottery.
And I was going to say like the lottery, because I think this is a Deborah-ism right here, that there's an intellectual contract kind of in your open loop. If you haven't earned the money or you don't understand the value of it, it's like an open loop, an open electrical loop. And it just doesn't, you got to change your mindset when your money changes, right? I mean, that's why I don't encourage my clients to do barter. I mean, I do a lot of work with my clients, but write a check, they write a check. The check is the closing of the loop because you've earned it, versus if you're just trading things off, it's energetic. I'm not a woo-woo person. I'm an accountant. Oh my gosh, I can't be a woo-woo person, although the woo-woo stuff kind of works. But I think there's so much psychology to money that people don't understand. Mostly because it's the money stories that we were told. Money doesn't grow on trees. All this. The love of money. Love of money is the root of all evil, which that's actually a misquote, because it's not money is the root of all evil, but the love of money is the root of all evil, meaning that you're pursuing it just for the sake of pursuing it. I mean, the Bible has I'm not super religious, but I grew up in, Catholic school the whole way through and everything. There's a lot of messages about money in the Bible.
It's really funny what we all learn in life, but I know myself, I had to discover that anything that I ever did for money was my motivation. Money, in other words, I did the job because of the money. I didn't succeed at it at an early age. I was challenged by it.
Right.
For me, I discovered that it had to be in alignment with my purpose and meaning. There had to be meaning and purpose in my life for me to excel at it.
Well, I think that's true. And success all the way around. I remember I read a book when I first got out of college, and it was something like that, do what you love and the money will follow, and I don't even remember the book or if I even read the whole book, but it was a physical book, and you don't get those too much anymore. But that kind of
you better do what you love, but you better practice. You better get better at it.
Well, that, and then too, but I do think that kind of stuck with me a little bit, because I think you have to really, who loves just doing tax returns all day long? That is, to me, business, my business, your business, I'm sure you would 100% agree with, is really, I feel like I have a relationship business that happens to have a deliverable of a financial plan or a tax return or a payroll or a bookkeeping or whatever my team is doing. And I think that's how you can be, I mean, kind of getting off another piece of my wealth is about relationships, because really you can't sustain a successful life, business, anything if you don't build the relationships too. So all the money in the world, and I think that's where the love of money, root of all evil kind of thing comes from. If that's all you're focused on, your end goal is the money, yeah, it's going to be a pretty hollow life, right? I mean, but if that money, I have like what I call money non-negotiables, and I talk to my clients about this as well. And this is something I talk about in the book as well. What are the things that you're going to be a hard yes on for money all the time? If it's going to help my business, increase my revenue, if it's going to benefit relationships, either, take my family on a great vacation, that's a relationship builder, or something with clients, or it's going to, one of mine is health. Those are, so when you know that those are things that are important to you, it's easy to say yes. And it doesn't, you don't have that decision fatigue. Now, it's not like I only spend money on my business, on my relationships, and on my health, but those are easy ones that I decide. Then maybe if it's outside the realm of that, I might think about it a little bit more. But most people don't even have a definition of what is important to me to even spend money on, right?
Deborah, what are you passionate about today in this moment? Your career, you've been in it.
Well, I would say, and it kind of is an outgrowth of the book a little bit. I really am. I'm very blessed to be in a place in my life that I'm really working now because I like to work and, could stop tomorrow. So I want to spend my time on helping other people, particularly women, because I think the conversation with money and women is a little bit different, but what I say can help men too. But it is to really take ownership of their money. If that's a place where I can provide information for them, experiences where they can learn about their money, become more confident in their money, because I think that's really what the problem is. To be confident is so important.
Where do you crack the bottle of champagne open and say, I did it? Where's your I did it, honey?
I've been thinking about that a little bit. I think it's when my time is more spent primarily on the things I only want to do, not the things that I have to do. And I'm getting there. My business is pretty scaled. My team does a lot of the parts that I don't want to, but just when pretty much every day is only like, I'm so glad to do this. And I feel like that a lot of the time. I don't think there's a number. I think it's really more about how you want to spend your time. And I think that goes back to a lot of, spouses as well. Like my husband's ready to retire. He's ready to travel more. I would like to travel more, but I don't want to stop doing what I'm doing either. I think the day that it's not fun anymore, then I know I've done all I need to do,
Mm. Is there one last parting statement you want to make before we wrap up our time together?
No, I would say is really to focus on what matters most in making your business as profitable as possible, and also creating a lifestyle that your business supports as well. Or a business that supports your lifestyle. Don't, chase the money just for the money, because that's going to wear you out. But I do think if you really focus on putting the right structure in place, surrounding yourself with the right people and the right, that are fun to work with, the money's going to follow. Maybe the book really did make a lot of sense. Do what you love and the money will follow. I think that's really the truth, and that's what we shall be striving for.
Well, Deborah, thank you for being a huge contributor to the best part of what eWomenNetwork is all about, and that's you.
Oh,
you and your knowledge, you and your insights, and the love that you give the people that you meet. It's just tremendous. I just want you to know that.
I've loved this community, and I think that we have a lot. All the people in the community have a lot to offer to each other, and we should definitely stay involved.
Well, as Sandra and Brianna, as we always say, she doesn't just mean business. Deborah, she means millions.